Welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable with Rob Romesburg. Real strategies for real advisors, a podcast that dives into what it takes to scale a thriving financial practice. Each week, we'll discuss actionable strategies, tools, and insights to keep you ahead in today's financial landscape. From innovative products and powerful marketing tactics, you'll get unfiltered truth and unstoppable strategies. Let's get started by building your unstoppable financial practice today.
All right. Welcome back to Unfiltered and Unstoppable. This is the podcast to where we want to put together real strategies for real advisors who are real serious about building something meaningful. I am your host, Rob Romesburg, and today we are going to be stepping into a conversation that is happening quietly but changing everything. And what we're going to be talking about today is how evolving client expectations, especially from younger generations, are transforming the way advisors build trust, the way that they communicate, how they are marketing themselves. Because you may or may not have noticed or realized the truth right now that the biggest shift in financial services. It's not a product change. It's not even regulation. It's not interest rates, but it's people. People are so much different today than even just 5 years ago. How they listen, how they research, how they decide who to trust, and also how to quickly tune out anything that just feels scripted or salesy or outdated. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and blame 100% social media. Like, I'm just going to say that.
Mhm.
Uh, and the thing is that as an advisor, if you miss this shift, you won't just lose attention. You're also going to lose relevance. And that's exactly why today's conversation matters so much. And to help us unpack all of this, I've invited someone who lives in the intersection of media, messaging, real audience behavior every single day. She is working directly with our advisors behind the scenes, in front of the camera, helping to shape our advisors, their live TV segments, their TV shows, their radio shows, podcasts, the content. And she's here today to translate all of that expertise and into something that is going to resonate with all of you and the all of your prospects and clients as well. So she is, by definition, the media strategist with Luson Media, and she is someone who brings a powerful real-time perspective on what's changing right now. Jaclyn, welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable.
Well, thank you, Rob. And it's a pleasure to be here. I was super honored that you had asked me to be on the show with you.
It is 100% my honor, without a doubt. If you don't mind, I said a lot. I don't know
Yeah.
if any of it even made any sense what I said, but I give us 30 seconds on like what does all that mean? Like, what are you actually doing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Rob, 30 seconds is going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird to be on this side of things, to be honest with you, because I typically am the one to co-host with our advisors.
Yeah.
And so, I'm the one that's leading the conversation, the intro, the outro, the transitions. So it's weird to have you do this, but
Yeah,
I'm going to stay quiet. I'll be in the back, backside here.
I love it.
And yeah, so I'm also in charge of kind of the TV side of things as well. So I like to say that I'm front and center when start onboarding for all of these activities. So I'll be the first call for all of these advisors. And then I'll send you emails and I'll get you all set up. And then help you through the process. So if it's TV, I'm there with you. If it's podcast and radio, I'm also there with you. And then I also help with the back end of things. So when, your show gets uploaded, when I'm the communicator for the stations, whether that's TV or radio. And so I can just kind of help it all. And I'm also, as you might have, seen, I'm on the younger side. And so I bring the different aspect into, what is marketing now? How does it change? And I'm an old soul. So I also, as much as I want to keep with the old times, social media and AI and all this new stuff, you have to keep up with it. And it's hard.
One of the things that we have noticed, keep in mind that this year is my 20th year with Gradient, and I've been doing this 24 years. And even 20 years ago, my average age of the advisor that I was recruiting and bringing on board
Mhm.
in the 60s.
Mhm.
Back and I would say up until probably 5 years ago. However, in the last 5 years, there's been a granular shift in the average age of the advisor that we are bringing on, which, by the way, it is desperately needed. If you take a look at any of the statistics, the advisor age range is heavy on those that are over the age of 60. And
Mhm.
we do desperately need a younger branch of advisors coming in to be able to take on the baton for the future of our communities and the American financial arena, really. And so, what we're going to cover today is going to hit on the head for many of those advisors and definitely those that have been in the business 20, 30, 40 years as well. That's why I'm so excited to have you on because it's going to impact a great deal of the advisors that we work with. So let's talk big picture here. So you were working inside advisor content all day, every day.
Mhm.
You're hearing how they speak. You are literally seeing how audiences are responding, watching what connects, what doesn't connect. From your vantage point, what feels most different today compared to even just a few years ago, and how people engage just overall?
I would say the number one thing is the attention span, right?
Mhm.
And so when we talk about, radio, which is kind of typically the older generation, the staple of a mode of which that you market, now it's moving towards podcast, which is why I'm on a podcast with you, right? It's
Yeah, right.
that we are just changing and shifting to different forms. And it's not going away though. Radio, it's going to be a staple. TV, it's going to be a staple. But it's the attention span at which listeners and viewers can last.
100%.
And I even saw this TED Talk recently that said the average attention span now is 18 minutes. That's 18 minutes for a podcast or your message or whatever it is to get out. And the shorter, actually, the better. So if you can just bullet point, fire off information, they're going to grasp that quicker than they are a whole story.
Yeah. What would you say would be something that you've recognized that gets ignored almost immediately?
Hmm.
Like I'll give you like for example with my podcast alone, it is so strange to me how what one of my shorts, if you will, you were talking about the shorter the better.
Yep.
What one of them will get 2,000 views that I thought that was terrible. Like I don't
hmm
why did 2,000 people, and then the next one that I thought was really good got 40, and I'm like I don't understand that.
So I would say, I mean, sometimes with the shorts, it's luck. I'm not going to lie. You just
Sure.
have to keep posting to
Uh-huh.
get something from it. But I would also say that the less polished, the better. And that is the truth. And I know that, in the finance world, as advisors that are listening, you guys want to be polished. You dress nice, right? You dress with a collar every day and a suit. That's what you're used to. But the younger generation wants the truth, the honesty behind the person. And if it's laughing, if it's making fun of yourself, if it's, tripping up on your words, that's what's going to get people to understand the authenticity behind you.
Man, everybody must think I'm really authentic.
Yes. Yes, that's why your podcast does well.
What would you say is for the listener that's paying attention to now? What are they listening to or paying attention to now that maybe they didn't before?
I would say personality, and I think first when kind of social media became a thing,
Hmm.
it was, I don't know, money,
Sure.
fame, all of that. But now it comes down to there's so many options out there. There's so many people to watch. There's so many, famous people to keep in touch with. It's the personality behind that people wanna stick with. It's the who are they as a person? What are they doing with these attributes that they have? And how do they use it for the greater good?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And trust doesn't look the
Mhm.
same anymore,
Yes.
and that goes right along goes right along with everything that we're talking about there. And let's talk about trust a little bit because in all reality, everything, especially in this business, starts there. So
Mhm,
for decades, trust in the financial services world was built primarily through credentials, all of the plaques on the wall, and all of the awards on the shelf, and referrals and longevity, and
mhm.
just as you said, professional polish. Eh, I think, no, I don't think, I know that what we're seeing now is something different.
Mhm.
So from your perspective, how is trust really forming today, especially with maybe the younger or maybe those that are more digitally uh, 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 native to the social media world, those types of audiences?
Yeah, Rob, that's a great question, and you're absolutely right. I mean, in the past, it's always been, what awards do you have sitting at your desk, and what do you have in the picture frame in the back?
Yeah,
And I think now it's truly about transparency and personality, and we kind of touched on that a little bit, but it's the honesty behind the person and how much they kind of give to you on a personal level,
yeah,
right? I mean, I don't want walls up when I'm talking about trusting and engaging with somebody. I don't want to be trying to get around the wall. I
right,
want to be looking right through a glass window.
yeah. I feel like now more than ever, people are much quicker to judge, and what I mean by that
Yes.
is whether or not I like you or I don't like you,
Mhm.
and that it is such a quick judgment to where now more than ever, people want to feel like they know you before they ever even meet you.
Mhm.
And yes, a great deal of our advisors are doing dinner seminars still with great success, and that is a great way for someone to be able to meet you firsthand. But even before that, like we need to be talking about podcasts and radio and TV commercials and videos you're sending out, but before the seminar, because the people want to feel like they know you before they meet you. And
Yes.
the new credibility is connection.
Mhm.
And if I would say this, silence in the marketplace now creates doubt instead of mystery. So as just a terribly generic example, if I were to receive a seminar mailer from you and I'm like, oh, well, this looks interesting, and I look up your name on the social media world, I don't see anything. I look up your company name in the social media world, I see a post or maybe two posts.
Mhm.
Right away, I'm gonna be like, I don't know about this.
Mhm.
You might be a wonderful advisor, but if there
Mhm.
isn't anything right away I can connect with or reference, even if you have a website's not enough anymore, right? Do you
Mhm.
agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. And I think it needs to be accessible and easily accessible. I mean, you saying stuff like that, just saying, looking on social media, right?
Yeah,
Not only does it need to be there, but it needs to be just accessible for everybody. And that shows in itself that you have nothing to hide,
yeah, right.
right? And when you're, putting things out there for everyone to see, that just means that you're trusting, you're honest, and you have nothing to hide.
Mhm. I'm great at terrible examples. So I've got another terrible example. So my wife and I, we love music festivals. We love concerts. And if somehow, some way I discover a new one, the first thing that I do is I go to last year's social media post and I look at what everybody says about that festival. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out, like, was this worth the money? Is this worth the trip?
Mhm.
And the same thing is true of the financial world. They are looking to see, are your posts, do they relate to me? Do you
Yes.
have photos of client appreciation events? Is this an advisor that I actually even like? Maybe I won't even like them when I meet them. That's what I'm really worried about. And
Mhm.
that's why we say visibility is no longer optional. There was a time, yes, where you could build an incredible business uh, almost entirely through referrals and reputation. I'm not saying you
Mhm.
shouldn't have referrals or a good reputation. I'm not saying that. And many of my advisors, like one of my favorite advisors, he's got 80 referrals last year. Like that's what it's about. But also, what's becoming just so amazingly clear is that true visibility will multiply trust,
Mm.
and invisibility will quietly limit your growth because they don't know if they could trust you or not.
Mhm.
That's why working with podcasts and any sort of media, TV, radio, whatever the case may be, is so vital in today's environment. So what are you seeing in terms of how consistent content, how consistent content changes the way prospects perceive an advisor?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you said it right there, Rob. Consistency is truly the key, right? I mean, we say communication is, which it is, but in this case, consistency is. No matter what you're putting out there, if you're putting something out there, that's what's going to keep people engaged, right? You're going to pop up on their feed every week. You're going to, bring out something new to their perspective every week. And consistency, and that's why we do the podcast and radio program and we ask for a year of commitment because you're not going to see people, build that trust and that relationship and you know, that I guess just that trust in relationship, you're not going to see that at least for 6 months
Yeah,
because people need to keep, seeing it, keep reading it, keep viewing it. And one time is just not going to be enough. They need to, I think they say you need to reach the person 4 times, make
wow,
4 impressions on a person before they actually notice you or remember you.
yeah. Yeah, what one of the things is that when a prospect comes in for the first time, you do want them to feel like they already know you. Like that
Mhm.
just helps so much with the relationship and the transition. But you also want them to come in more confident. And what
Mhm.
I mean by that is confident in you, your firm, your concepts. So as you lay them out, they say things like, I remember hearing that on your show. I
Yes.
remember watching that on Facebook. Things like that, all of a sudden they're just like, "Man, yeah, that's why I came in here." And
Mhm.
and not only that, but after I meet you, I actually kinda like you. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move this thing forward.
Yeah.
And, uh, one of the things that I've heard in the past that I love is that consistency builds comfort.
Mm.
And the more the more that I see your face and I hear your message and I read your emails, all of a sudden now I actually might be more comfortable with your concepts than you are as the advisor. And you don't want that first meeting to feel like the first meeting. You're trying to get that. You talked about building the wall. You don't want that wall to be there if it's possible. You want them to come in and already feeling like they are a part of your family, like they are already part
Mhm.
of your firm. And uh, I talked a little bit earlier about my frustrations, about my view counts on some of my shorts compared to others, and I had somebody tell me this before. The content that you're releasing, it's not about becoming going viral. It's
Mhm.
about becoming recognizable.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many uh, different types of industry events that I've gone to that someone that I've had great deal of respect for, but maybe we've just never connected or whatever. they've approached me and say, "Hey, Rob, I've been watching your podcast, man. It's great." And I'm like, "Whoa, like that's
Mhm.
awesome!" Like I'm so glad for that, and we've created a relationship from there. Um,
Mhm.
and I think a nice transition right now would be talking about why conversation beats presentation. And
Mhm.
what one of the biggest changes that I've noticed personally is the move from a formal presentation to real conversation. Going back to seminars as an example, I have seen more and more advisors bringing in a whiteboard with them as opposed to using PowerPoint. Because what they're
Mm.
trying to do is conduct a real conversation there. They don't wanna seem so polished. They don't wanna seem
Mhm.
so salesy. They want the folks in that audience to say, "You know what? This is a real dude. This is someone I connect with." And and
Mhm.
and they actually understand what's going on. They didn't just memorize a PowerPoint, right? So, it's all about less lecture, more dialogue, no scripting if possible, and all more humanity, right?
Yeah.
And so you are immersed in podcast production and advisor messaging. Why do you think that now more than ever audiences are responding so strongly to conversational formats right now?
Well, Rob, it's real. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's you mentioned it earlier about being able to relate, to an advisor, right?
yeah,
You want to personally say, "Oh, I've totally said that," or "I've done that," or "I've related to that," right?
mhm,
And when it becomes so natural, you can see the truth behind the person. You can see the personality. It's the authenticity of it. And a few jokes here and there, those are good too.
yeah, 100%,
And
100%.
and I also just wanna mention, before when you talked about kind of the reach and the amount of people that, recognize you, right? Radio, Kurt High is an advisor that we have here that joined radio, and he, joined in his little small town, and somebody called him from the radio station that said, "Hey, I heard you. I actually went to high school with you."
Yeah,
And this was, 40 years ago that they, just reconnected, and that trust was built by just hearing a voice, hearing, "Oh, wow, I recognize that voice. I recognize who that person is. How do I know them?"
yeah,
And then being able to go online, view the website,
yeah,
view the social media, align that recognizable because you don't necessarily know where you know them from.
yeah.
Haven't you ever been there where you're like, "I totally recognize that person, but I have no idea from where?" And that's the step that we wanna get past with marketing.
And radio and podcasts specifically, it is definitely more of a one-way conversation for sure.
Mhm.
However, it's still a conversation, and it
Yeah.
lowers the defenses in a way a presentation never could,
Mhm.
especially if someone is consistently listening to you. I have heard it time and time again from my guys that have been doing radio for years that they will have a prospect come in and say, I've actually been listening to you for 2 years. Like
Mhm.
that I think that is the cool stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
that maybe, as you said earlier, like we want you to commit to a year if you're going to do it. And the reason why is because it's not something all of a sudden tomorrow you turn on the radio button. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait to meet with
Yes.
you. You have to establish the footprint and you have to become known and people have to like you and
Mhm.
they have to listen to you on a regular basis. They have to get comfortable with you. Look,
So
man, is it
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, so 4 times, 4 times you have to make impressions on them for them to recognize or remember you, right?
Mhm.
8 times is how many they will start building trust with you. So think about it, 8 touches on a single person, right? I mean, now we're getting back into the sales talk of things, but you need to make 8 impressions on these people for them to start building trust and having that relationship or wanting to learn more about you.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned something, earlier, and I'm glad that you did, authenticity. That's something that I'd like to get a little deeper into, and that's something that keeps coming up, and it's something that it's a word that people use a lot, but I don't think a lot of people really understand what that means in practice. Like, if you meet someone that's a jerk, they might just say, "You know what? You can't help it that I'm real. You can't help it that I'm authentic." Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. What From what you have observed, how do you and you've said things like jokes and things like that. How do you think an audience today can recognize whether someone's genuine versus someone that is polished?
Oh, I'm sure that you've been on TikTok, and I know that your podcast is on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
You learn a lot about the way that people speak, and we can detect salesy, we can detect
Sure.
fake. I mean, we know exactly how to know if it's fake, if it's promotional, if it's, just doing it for the video, doing it for the ad, whatever.
Oh yeah.
You can tell, and I think even the older generation now is really catching on. I mean,
Yeah.
this we need new ideas here, people, because the sales stuff is just boring.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it. It's not gonna get to anybody, in an authentic way.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife will show me something, and I'll look at it and be like, There's no way that's real. They staged that." She's like, "Are you
Mhm.
sure?" And then all of a sudden, the next 5 videos I'll see is 5 other couples doing the same exact thing, and I'm just like, "God," like, it just drives me nuts.
Yes.
What do you think are some tips possibly on how to be authentic and still be professional? Meaning, like,
Yeah.
is that possible?
It's definitely possible, and I think this answer is gonna vary depending on person,
Okay.
right? I mean, I know some people are very much still into the dress to impress,
Mm,
which I can't disagree with you sometimes, and I think there's layers to every aspect of being professional, but being yourself, and being authentic, and if it means that you're a jokester, crack some jokes, maybe that's your way of being authentic. If it means that, you like to wear sweatpants or your fitness journey and you want to wear whatever, maybe that's your way of being authentic. Whatever it is, you just have to find depending on who you are as a person and what your personal quote brand is,
mhm,
right? We all have personal brands. That's who we are as a person. That's what we want to portray to people. That's how we want to be seen.
mm,
And I think it's so important to establish what that is. And also, yes, your company brand, but you as a person, that's a whole different brand than your company.
yeah,
And I think just being able to differentiate those, but also intertwine them is the hardest step in marketing now.
yeah. I've got an advisor out of North Carolina, and he lives, really close to a beautiful lake, and I remember the first time I walked into his office, and I was wearing suit and tie. This is years and years ago, suit and tie,
Mhm.
and my man is in lake gear, and I'm like and I was like, "Hey, we were supposed to hang out and meet, and we had some
Mhm.
meetings." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay," and I didn't say anything. I was like, "Whatever." And over the years, I just realized that's what they do down there. They are
Yeah.
lake people, and they are shorts and flip flops, and he'll wear a polo, and it'll be branded.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are very much authentic, and his client appreciation events are my all time favorites because they are just chill, awesome lake people hanging out,
Mhm.
having the best time of their life, and they're all in lake gear as well. So you're 100% spot on there.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I love about this business, Be be who you are, be be where your feet are, be what your clients are. Like that's what's going to attract. And when I first started in the business, I started with a captive firm, and within the firm there were all kinds of different advisors, and they had different parts of the states and things like that. And there was this one dude, man. He came in as a cowboy every day because he was
Mhm.
meeting with the farmers in Western Kansas that had the ranches. And he was like, if I showed up in that, they would shoot me. He was like,
Mhm.
they won't let me on their property. And I mean, you're spot on.
I think an important thing too is being unique in your own ways, right? I mean,
100%.
if you're talking about wearing a cowboy hat and that's unique where you are, do it because that's going to
Yeah.
make you stand out. If it's, just the norm, I wouldn't necessarily consider it because then you're just being average,
Yeah.
right? You want to find something about you, your personality, your personal brand that will stand out in the area that you're in
Right.
because instantly that's what attracts people, right? So if they think, I don't know, I'm living in Minnesota right now, right? So if I was cowboy boots, cowboy hat, walking around, that's going to stand out here
Right.
and that's going to be different. And who am I going to attract? People that think and like, the similarity of it, right?
Yeah.
If there's other people that are thinking the same thing, thinking there's no one around here that wears cowboy hat and cowboy boots. Oh wait, there's an advisor that does. I'm going to go see them. I want to know more about this person because I relate with them. So finding those unique things, it can be hard, but that's going to differentiate you.
What an awesome transition. Every podcast, I like to have a challenge. This one is a 30-day challenge. It's not anything overwhelming or complicated. Let's just be intentional with it.
Mhm.
So for the next 30 days, make sure that you are showing up every week with meaningful content, whether it's your newsletter, your podcast, your social media, whatever the case may be, meaning meaningful from your heart. I'm not saying you're not doing that now, but being real intentional with it and making sure that you are taking back the way that you are speaking naturally to your clients. Find that love, find that
Mhm.
passion to make sure that you are bringing people close knit back right back into your heart and your soul. And let's get back to focusing on helping, not impressing. So those three steps right there. And when you're focusing on helping, not impressing, people recognize that right away
Yes.
and they feel it and they want to be a part of it. So make that the next 30 days because momentum's not going to start with perfection. It starts with presence and being a
Mhm.
part of it. I can't believe how fast these go. Jaclyn, this has just been such a incredibly important conversation. I really appreciate you bringing clarity and honesty
Mhm.
and a real time lens to where all of this marketing is headed. Do you have any last thoughts to leave us with?
Yeah, Rob, I first off appreciate you having me. And I love your challenge that you're giving. I think it's so important to be clear, be consistent, and be yourself. And I think in all three of those, if it takes 5 minutes to just post something that you have, post it. But I think it's also so important to have a strategy behind that. And that's what, Luson Media helps with. And that's what I can help with. And we create a overall strategy so these little tidbits here and there can come together as a bigger picture. And, yes, it's so important to be yourself. It's also important to know kind of the strategy behind it and the back end of things. But just go out there, be yourself, and be proud of who you are.
Exactly. I love that. And for everybody that's listening today, if today's conversation made you realize that visibility, trust, connection,
Mhm.
that those are the real drivers of growth, and you really want to dig down deep into that, we put together a really simple resource to help you take those next steps. It's simply called the Advisor Visibility Blueprint. It's a clear, practical guide to help you communicate your value with clarity, like we've been talking about today. Um, how to build trust before the first meeting. This is a big one. This kind of relates to my last podcast too. Showing up consistently without feeling overwhelmed. It's so easy to become overwhelmed in this business.
Yes.
And how do we position ourselves for the next generation of clients? Because those advisors that grow the fastest moving forward, they're not going to be the ones that are the most experienced. They're
Mm.
going to be the ones that are the most visible, relatable, and trusted.
I
So go
Can I
ahead.
just add
Oh,
something? Yeah,
please do it. Yeah.
I just want to add, go out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one is, you're going to be comfortable doing things a certain way, and leaving that comfortability is so important.
Yeah.
Just let it all out. Basically, leave
Yeah.
it all on the table. That's what you ask your clients to do. That's what you should do.
I love it. That's exactly right. If you want the blueprint, head out to the website, which is simply evolvewithgradient.com/ignite team. Once again, that's evolvewithgradient.com/ignite team. And if this episode sparks something for you, a new idea, and a needed shift, courage to show up in a bigger way, we've got one small ask. If you're not already following the show, follow the show, like the show, share the show with another advisor or someone else within your firm to make sure that we're all on the same page. And we want to make sure that your firm is on the same page. And before we close, I always like to close with a thank you, specifically to the advisors that are listening right now. Thank you for the work that you do every single day for serving these families. You're always guiding extremely difficult decisions, and you're bringing clarity in uncertain moments. And you are, quite frankly, you're standing with people during some of the most important and difficult seasons of their lives. So what you're doing is bigger than portfolios. It's bigger than planning. You are serving your communities with wisdom, stability, care, and that's an impact that reaches far beyond anything that you will probably ever see. And I know you don't hear it enough. So truly, thank you for showing up. This is Unfiltered and Unstoppable. I'm Rob Romesburg with my guest Jaclyn. Really appreciate all that you do. Thank you. We'll see you all next time.
The opinions herein may be from personal experience and may not necessarily be those of the Gradient Financial Group, its employees, or affiliates. Any results, topics, or outcomes are for informational purposes only. Financial professional use only. Rob Romesburg does not render tax, legal, or accounting advice and is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.